Hi and welcome to my channel. In today's video I will be discussing Lilith in 7th house placements as well as Lilith in Libra. So you can have any placement as long as it's Lilith in the 7th house or Lilith in Libra. And we're going to be talking about how to navigate relationships and how to love yourself so that you can have healthier and more beneficial and just consensual, loving, honest, healthy relationships with people. So first and foremost, I feel like it's important to speak from a place of experience, which is why I'm doing these videos in this way. Like, I have Lilith in the 7th house, but I also have Lilith in Aries. And I feel like my Lilith is deeply impacted by my 7th house placement simply because anyone that has Lilith in the 7th house is here to basically clear out their relationship karma. So in a past life, you may have been like abusive or didn't care for relationships, you used people as pedestals, or you just weren't a good person. Like, you didn't take into high regard relationships. And even in this life, that's the shadow side of it. Like, you see relationships as expendable. You see people as expendable. You see people as a ladder to climb. And we're here to heal that. We're here to not be like that because people are human. And just as much as we get our feelings hurt and don't like when people mistreat us, people feel the same way. So we're here to learn how to work through our karma and not be so cruel and undiplomatic to others. So if you have this placement, there is hope for your love life, even though we didn't get the lucky coin in this lifetime as far as love and relationships can go. We got something even better, which is the ability to learn. Because if you think about like a lucky coin, right, that means that everything comes effortlessly. You don't have to try hard. There's no forethought. It just happens. Like, you know, you prepare a little bit and then it happens, in opposed to having the bad luck coin. But I don't think bad luck is such a bad thing, because if anything, when you're having an unlucky streak, it teaches you how to pivot. It teaches you how to think. It teaches you to think outside of the box and have more unique and valuable lessons so that you can be better at whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So I don't see bad luck as a bad thing, but I do see it as work. Like, there's work to be done if you have this placement, especially in relationships. As I said before, we are here to work through relationship karma more than any other Lilith placement. Like, literally, it's like a stamp on your fucking forehead. Like, hey, this is a karmic placement, and until you deal with it, you're probably gonna keep having these issues. And also, you might have relationship karma because of your parents' choices. It might not even be how you were in a past life, but you might actually be dealing with the karma of your parents, especially the father. This is a common theme with this placement. You know, like the sins of the father goes on to their children. That is a real thing. And I know personally that my father, I mean, to put it, okay. My father, I didn't know him all of my life. I met him when I was 17 years old, and it came to my attention that he was a registered sex offender in 3 different states and still in jail for having sex with a 13-year-old girl, you know? So like, I'm definitely paying for the sins of my father in this lifetime, and that's just is what it is. And that just has to do with how DNA is passed down. Like, one thing that I find interesting about children in general are like giving birth, and this is why I think, you know, people who fantasize having children should really think about it. And I'm going a little bit off topic, but it's all connected. Because I have a child, and literally everything that you have learned and have done and have worked through is passed through your children. So if you are a product of someone who is not worked through their problems and they're deeply traumatized or traumatizing other people, and they just have this bad habit that they just keep doing, and they never learn from it, then when they have children, that child also picks up that bad habit. But children are an improvement upon the original design. So if your parents are the original design, you're the improvement. And this is why it seems so frustrating when you're going through your dating life and you're hitting all of these roadblocks of these narcissistic people or manipulators or liars or people who just overly sexualize you, even if you're not that way, because you're paying for the sins of your parents. But overall, the fact that you're here means that you want to work through something and be better for your future children. If you decide to have children, even just be better for your future self so that you can have a better life and a more bountiful experience on earth. Like, I commend you for that. That's why I'm here. I'm doing the work. It sucks, but hey. So how do we navigate through our relationships? Let's first talk about the things that come up from the shadows, from the dark nature of Lilith. Like your chronic tendency to be passive aggressive and sometimes just flat out aggressive. Or your hypocritical nature to accept something and go along with something with someone until you feel so uncomfortable or just so much shame within yourself that you lash out and judge the other person. And finally, your tendency to get into a relationship with people who are like steamy hot red flags because they feel like a drug, or they charm you in a way that you like to be charmed, or they treat you in a way that makes you feel good and strokes your ego and your insecurities, but overall they're not good for you and you know it, but they make you feel good enough in a moment that you keep feeding it. First things first, your passive aggressive nature is toxic. Like, it's toxic. And I know with this placement, the Libra it's all about diplomacy and harmony, and you don't want to rock the boat, but ultimately you do. Just like a Libra sun. Like, a Libra sun might be cool and composed or whatever until they gotta call someone out on that shit. And when they call them out, it's not pretty. Like, it's like this times 10, because you deeply want and cherish your relationships. You want those bonds. You cherish people, you cherish connections, and a lot of like your work in this life has to do with connecting and partnerships and businesses, and just having someone there makes everything better. Even if they do nothing, just someone to bounce ideas off of helps you think clearly. Or just someone sitting in a room with you when you're doing work makes you more productive. Like, little things like that. So when you're in this passive aggressive space and people are doing little things that chip away at you that you don't necessarily feel good about, but you want to keep the peace because you genuinely like them, it eventually turns extremely toxic in a way that is good for no one. So yeah, like, this energy is literal poison in your body, mind, and soul, but most importantly, your mind. Because by Libra, in the 7th house. It's ruled by the sign of Libra. We've established this. Being an air sign and also a cardinal sign, it has everything to do with your mind. It's all intellect. So you may overthink things, analyze it, break it down in a way that other people haven't even thought about because of your own traumas and insecurities that you're dealing with. So keeping that in mind, you may have a tendency to bottle up all your thoughts, emotions, and feelings until they get to a space where they have no choice but to explode. On the other hand, you might explode in front of people who don't even know you like that yet. Like, they literally just met you. This is the first time they're hanging out with you, and you're already feeling a way about X, Y, and Z, and they just do that one thing that pushes you over the edge, and they see a side of you that you really didn't want them to see. You would have preferred them to have a better perspective of you. But because of this nature, it goes from passive aggressive to aggressive real quick. And once you go into that aggression mode, it's hard to redeem yourself and, you know, make a positive light in other people's eyes. So in order to have a healthy, happy relationship, the work starts with you. You have to balance the scales within you. So you can do this by working on your communication skills. It's imperative as an act of self-love for you to work on your communication skills. That means you're listening and you're reacting to things, even your perspective, because there's a saying that I love so much, and I'm not sure where I heard it, but your personality creates your reality. So if in your mind people are untrustworthy and anything negative that you can think of, like, and you're putting out this personality of like guardedness, or you're always on guard mode, you always have to protect yourself, that creates your reality. So then you feel like you have to be guarded with everyone, and that's not always the case. Like, yes, there's a lot of fucked up people in the world, but not everyone has bad intentions. I think if anything, a lot of people are just severely damaged, and they're trying to find the best way possible to move through life, just like we all are, right? So yeah, like, you're working on your communication is imperative to having a healthy relationship with not only yourself but others. Because if you're anything like me, that temper is not cute. Oh my God, like, I'm scared of myself when I get angry, to the point where like I started to disassociate a lot of times, because whenever I feel a trigger happening, my choice is either to blow up or say nothing, and I chose to say nothing, but saying nothing also triggers other people. So finding that balance, that healthy balance of, okay, like, maybe I am overreacting, maybe I can have a upfront, truthful, honest conversation with this person, and we can work through it, will be beneficial for everyone in the equation, and ultimately will help you navigate your relationships further and strengthen connections with people that you value. We hear so many motivational speakers talking about mastering your mind. Mindset is everything, mind over matter. But it's true. Like, if you master your mind, you'll master everything else. Like, it attracts everything in this life. So it will attract healthier relationships with people, even though you have met some messed up and damaged people. And what's even more funny about this placement, I think personally, is that the reason we attract people that are more damaged, or just whatever the case may be, like, it's because we deeply we empathize, like we understand the darkness, we understand how bad it can get, and we want to help. Like we're like, hey, like I'm working through this too, I understand how it can be. We want to be a shoulder to lean on, we want to be like that person to comfort and also help work through. Like that brings great pleasure. I know to people with this placement, just to have someone to understand and communicate and share and bond with, but you can't also judge them at the same time. But I know that some of that judgment is some of your own self-judgments, which is something you have to work through. Like in order to have healthier relationships, judging people is not going to get you there. And that takes us to our next point, being hypocritical. Being a hypocrite is the quickest way to end up alone forever. Because the thing about being a hypocrite is people open themselves up to you and they bond over something specific with you, right? And you're sharing information and connection and you're deepening. They're opening themselves up to you, they're getting deeper, they're being more vulnerable with you, and then all of a sudden something in your mind clicks, right? And that's the Lilith nature of this placement, because it's both sides. Like you see both sides. So it's like at one point you're open to it. You're open and you're like, cool, this is fun, or this is great, or cool, we're making this connection. But as soon as they say that one thing that you don't like and you don't agree with, and that causes you discomfort or shame or guilt in your own body, you lash out and reject and shame them. In result, no one is gonna want to continue a connection with someone that is a hypocrite. Like no one wants to continue a connection with someone that is gonna make them feel judged or shamed or belittled because of their own human thoughts, desires, and emotions. So in order to navigate this and have healthier relationships, you have to look at yourself. Because again, like being a hypocrite is I feel like it's the ultimate projection syndrome. Like hypocrites project their own insecurities and self-judgments onto other people. So like I said, shame and guilt, what's the difference? I personally think that guilt is saying that like I did something wrong. Like guilt is healthy, like you're acknowledging a wrongdoing, and rightfully so. And then shame is saying I am wrong. So it's like saying your whole existence is wrong, your whole perspective is wrong, like just everything about you is wrong. And that's not true. Like there might be things to improve upon, but that doesn't make you wrong. It just means that you have things to improve upon, and so does everyone. And acknowledging that, again, helps you build and foster healthier relationships with people, romantic or otherwise, because being honest with that, working through that, talking to someone about that, this is why therapy is so important. Like, it's an objective person that is analyzing you from an educated standpoint and an experienced standpoint, and they're saying, hey, X, Y, and Z, I see this in you. And most of the time they're right? Because you're like, you don't even know me, and you've assessed all of this just in this short amount of time, because it's always good to have a safe space of someone to talk to and work things out with. And if you bottled it all up inside and pretend like it's not happening, or it's not there, or like that's not me, I would never do something like that, you're being dishonest with yourself and others, and that's what makes you a hypocrite. And finally, your tendency to ignore all of the red flags, okay? And honestly, I think this has a lot to do with experience. Like, there are some people who had the benefit of having both parents in their life, and they had proper guidance and just proper knowledge, and their parents were able to teach them things, or just from experience with their family, they were able to observe certain things, so they pick up on red flags and cues easier. But a lot of people with displacement, the level of empathy and need for harmony and just companionship in general makes you ignore the red flags. Like, you know, the red flags look pink, you know, instead of red, because you understand that people are fallible. Like, you know that they're gonna come with, they're not gonna be perfect. They're gonna come with some things that aren't great about them, but you wanna accept them. But some things are just genuinely not good for you. I mean, honestly, the best way to navigate this is, of course, learn from it, because I feel like experience is the best teacher. Like, pain is the best teacher, right? Like, I can't think of a situation where it didn't cause me deep, just eternal, fucking overwhelming, terrible pain that I didn't grow into a better person from it. Like, even now, like, I'm fucking here doing YouTube because I learned so much through relationships that I finally feel like I'm in a place to not only work through it in a way that I am leveling up myself to a standard that I never even thought was possible before in relationships, as well as being able to share like an accurate assessment of my experiences from what I learned. And yeah, so like, you know, there's a stereotype out there that like Libras are addicted to drugs, or like they're self-serving. And I don't think that's true. I think if anything, Libras understand how Libras understand how quickly life can be taken away, and they do things that bring them joy, because at the end of the day, a Libra placement wants peace, they want harmony, they want fun, they want experience. So a lot of times that can come off as selfish, because say someone's coming to you with a bunch of drama, like, you don't want to deal with that, so you're gonna well, not all times, but like step away from it. Like, if someone's constantly bringing you drama, you don't want to be around that person because you want harmony. Like, that's not your vibe. So you want to go where the vibe is. Like, so that might mean you doing psychedelics, or that might mean you drinking alcohol often, or that might mean, whatever the case may be, having a lot of sex, whatever causes you joy and pleasure, you're gonna go towards it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think with this placement, there's a manner of doing so that, one, you're not harming yourself while doing it, and also harming others, because you still have to think about other people. And that's a big thing with this placement, by being able to view relationships as expendable. And I know I suffer from this. Like, there's a few relationships in my life that I just fucking stopped talking to people. Like, I literally just stopped. Like, because I feel like, what is the point of having a conversation about why I don't want to be in your life anymore, when we can just stop, we can grow, we can learn, we can evolve. And if we were supposed to come back together and be in each other's lives, it will happen. Like, I'm a firm believer of that. And I don't know if that's a default of my expendable nature or just pure logic. Like, We don't have to do this. I don't want to give someone the opportunity to try to convince me why they should be in my life when I know for a fact in my gut and my intuition and everything in me that their presence is unhealthy at the moment. So if that's self-serving, I guess I'm self-serving. But guess what? You can only be as good to others as you are to yourself. So I'm just focused on improving every aspect of myself so that I can bring in healthier, make the space for healthier and more genuine connections. And so to summarize my point here, to how to love yourself is to be honest with yourself, give yourself grace, give yourself patience, but more importantly, don't deny yourself of yourself. Don't deny yourself of your life. Don't deny yourself of your desires. Don't deny yourself of your needs. Like, I know all of you have something that you want, something that no one in your life would even imagine that you were thinking about, and you're constantly like self-editing, like, oh no, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't do that. And that lack of self-fulfillment is going to trickle over and cause dis-ease and distress within you, because you're limiting your own trajectory in life of how far you can go and how much joy you can achieve. So yeah, I feel like the best way to love yourself is to not deny yourself and give yourself everything that you desire. Like, and it's been a long time coming for me. Like, YouTube is my way of not denying myself, because I have trouble with being vulnerable and opening myself up to people, because I don't trust people, especially with my emotions and thoughts and feelings and motivations, because a lot of people use those things to manipulate people. Like, I had an ex who literally freaking stalked me for years, and then we started dating, and he knew so much about me to the point where he had the upper hand. He had an advantage in that situation, and that causes me discomfort, and it makes me not want to be open and vulnerable. But I know that I'm supposed to teach what I learned in this life, so I am like, okay, fuck it. The best way to do this is to not deny myself of my true calling, my true urge, but also protect myself, be aware, be vigilant, and don't pretend like something's happening. Like, stop pretending like things that are right in front of you aren't happening. Like, they are. People know what they're doing, especially if they're over the age of 25. They know exactly what they're doing to you, and it's almost always for their own benefit. So you have to look out for your own self-interest, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as you aren't deliberately mistreating people. And I can say that I was at fault for that a lot of times. There's people that I have lashed out on, and I said some cruel, hurtful things, but ultimately it was true. I just wish I would have worded it better. But then another part of me is like, some people deserve the harsh truth because all they get are the sugar-coated version, and I think sugar-coating is bullshit, and that's not something that I live by. I don't live by being a bullshitter or a liar or a cheater or a manipulator, so I do my best to move with integrity in my life, and whatever that looks like for you, do that. Because the more you love yourself, the more you elevate yourself, the more honest with yourself, the more boundaries you have for yourself, the more you see your limitations in certain instances, the more likely you will attract a mirror. Like, you're literally attracting a mirror of your subconscious mind and conscious mind. So the love that you attract, the relationship that you attract are directly related to how you self-talk, and how much you lie to yourself, how much you deny yourself, how much you objectify yourself. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. If you made it to the end, drop a purple heart emoji. I don't know, I'm feeling purple today. And let me know what you think. How do you love yourself? How do you navigate through your relationships? I genuinely want to know. And until next time, have a good day and take care of yourself.